Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. The quarterback whisperer has been found and is now employed by your New York Jets. We'll get to all of the staff hires as the Jets are shaping their staff up, and it's looking, pretty good, relatively. My name is Frankie from Flatbush. This is the Frankie from Flatbush show. We do have a docket. We do. Uh-oh. Where's the docket? Oh, I see. We got a little problem with the docket. Hang on. There it is. There it is. It is the docket right there. Tuesday, February the 10th, 2026 over here. All right. And what's going on with the Jets? The Jets Buzz is this segment title. Well, we're hiring our staffing, and it's looking pretty good. It's basically a mix of young, smart up-and-comers and some grizzled veterans. So Frank Reich's offensive coordinator staff includes passing game coordinator Seth Ryan, 31 years old, and son of Rex Ryan. And then you have offensive assistants from Stanford, Matthew Sargent. Maybe one day he'll be staff sergeant. He could get promoted. And then you got Thomas Merkel, and then you got Al Netter. All these people are young guns from Stanford. So obviously Reich vouched for them, and these are people in the pipeline. You get some young up-and-coming dudes from Stanford. They don't let you be a dummy and hang around Stanford, by the way. So these are some smarty smart pants. Up-and-comers. But then we got some grizzled veterans like Reich himself and Alfredo Roberts, Freddie Bobs. He comes from the Steelers. And most importantly, the one everybody's been waiting for, Bill Musgrave. Now, Musgrave is a big-time veteran, 25 years in the league, most recently with the Browns. But the important thing about his bio is, number one, very, very experienced. Obviously, 25-plus years in playing and coaching. Now, he was a quarterback. He's going to be our quarterback's coach. He was a quarterback. Where was he a quarterback? In the NFL. Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, Denver Broncos, and Indianapolis Coltados. And so he was a quarterback, and obviously went through college quarterback, was an NFL quarterback, okay. And then he went into coaching, and he has tons and tons of coaching experience. Raiders, Eagles, Panthers, Virginia, went back to college, Jaguars, Redskins, Falcons, Vikings, Eagles, Raiders, Broncos, went back to Cal, Browns, and now us. So, that's a lot of coaching. This is an experienced dude. So he has all of that experience, all coaching. Basically, he was either offensive coordinator or a quarterback coach. Sometimes they threw on tight end coach, but mostly he was quarterback coach, OC, or OC and quarterback coach, that sort of thing, in all of these jobs. So plenty of experience. Super Bowl champion, first team All Pac-10 back in the day. But most importantly, was his time with the Oakland Raiders in 2015 to 2016. Now, you might say, well, why is that? He's got all this experience, all these teams. What is the 2015 and 16 Oakland Raider experience? Why is that being singled out, Frankie? Well, it just so happens that he coached, as I stutter, he coached a quarterback by the name of Derek Carr. You might have heard of him. Now, Carr, it has been said, it came out on Super Bowl Sunday. Why does all the quarterback news come out on Super Bowl Sunday, you might wonder? Why is it so coordinated? Every single year, there's quarterback stories that come out on Super Bowl Sunday. Why? Not the day before, not the day after, not the week before. They all come out on Super Bowl Sunday. Somebody should look into that. Pablo Torre should find out about that. But nonetheless, we got the news that Derek Carr Don't call it a comeback, or maybe you'd like to call it a comeback because he's coming back, perhaps. In the right situation with the right ingredients, Derek Carr will very seriously consider coming back to the NFL. They said he's 100% healthy, no problem with the shoulder. We'd have to see about that. But if that's the case and he's 100% healthy, he becomes the number one free agent on the market. And then you have to say, all right, what's going to be a good situation for him? Well, now we got his OC. Well, what has he said about Mr. Musgrave? Maybe he hated him. Well, here's a quote. Quote, I went to 2 Pro Bowls with Coach Musgrave. Like I said, he's one of the smartest people I've ever been around. Do you think we need smart people around here? I think so. So we got some Stanford smarties, and then we got this guy. And Carr says, one of the smartest people I've ever been around. Every time I see him, I give him a big hug, Carr said. Okay. So I would say this increases the chances that we have to get Derek Carr. Now, you might not like Derek Carr. You might say, wait a minute, we don't even want that guy. You're going to want him when you look at the choices that we have. And so I think this move only helps. And I think he's going to like Frank Reich as an offensive coordinator. And then he's got Musgrave there as well, familiarity. And you look around, where could Carr really end up? Because I'm sure he'd like to go back to the Raiders, for example. Clint Kubiak was his OC at one time. But the Raiders, it's all but confirmed they're getting Mendoza. They're taking Mendoza. They're not going to take Mendoza and then also Carr. That doesn't make any sense. So you heard the owner today basically let the cat out of the bag that they're taking Mendoza and talking about why they hired Kubiak. So that's not a spot. Does he want to go to the Arizona Cardinals with Michael LaFleur and Maserati Marv? There's no connection really there. Does he want to go to Cleveland with the Shadorians and Deshaun Watson? No. How about the Dolphins? Well, the Dolphins have really nothing going on. They have extreme cap problems. They probably can't even afford him. He's going to want a starting salary, And plus, with all their cap problems, they got to let Tyreek Hill go. Tyreek Hill's going to obviously go to the Chargers as long as he's healthy, and go back with McDaniel and go with Justin Herbert and go win the Super Bowl. What's going to happen unless there's injuries? But so then Miami has Devin Achane and Jalen Waddle and not much else, and big cap problems where they can't even afford a Derek Carr. I mean, teams can move money around all you want, but they have cap problems. And they don't have much talent there right now. They're kind of totally rebuilding. So where does that leave? The Steelers? Well, if the Steelers sign Rodgers, like the big rumor is that's looking likely, there's not a lot of landing spots for old Derek Carr if he really wants to play. And so now, with Musgrave on the staff, I would think we're looking pretty good. You sell him on Garrett Wilson, we got a decent offensive line, especially if we sign AVT or Simpson to plug up the left guard spot. And now we got a decent O-line at least. We got A.D. Mitchell, who's very underrated. We got Garrett Wilson. We're going to sign either Romeo Doubs or Wan'Dale Robinson, or if we miss out on them, we will get one of these great receivers in the draft in the first round. And that makes 3. And then beyond them, we got Ike Williams and John Mechie. Go look at their tape. They did fine last year. They're our 4th and 5th receiver. That's pretty good. And we got a decent tight end room, not great, but decent. And what other situation are you gonna? And we got plenty of money. We'll give you whatever you want, pretty much. And we can afford to make a trade with the Saints. We got to trade for him, unfortunately. And so and I hope they're not going to try to, be ridiculous about it. I mean, I would offer them a 5th round pick next year or a 6th round pick this year. Take your choice. If they want more than that, all right, we're moving on. We'll try to get somebody else. But that would be the best move. We could offer him a 4-year, $100 million contract. Would sound like a lot, but it's really not. And especially if you make only the first 2 years guaranteed, then the back end, who cares? It's totally to the club's benefit only, really. And he gets an extra $50 million in his pocket for playing 2 years. And then if it goes well this year, great. We could take a Lenora Sellers next year for developmental purposes, or somebody like that. And if he's playing good, keep playing. And then if he's playing good in year 3, keep playing, keep playing. So I'm pretty stoked about this. Not a sexy name. A lot of Jet fans are not going to be too happy, I don't think, with this guy. But the way I see it, this staff is looking pretty good, especially considering how this offseason has started with all this meandering, and maybe it was the fault of the reporters who were just reporting false information. I don't know. But it seemed like a long and winding road. But we wound up with Frank Reich as the play caller. Up-and-comers, Sean Ryan, Matthew Sargent, Thomas Merkel, and Al Netter, these young guns from Stanford, and Seth Ryan, the son of Rex and grandson of Buddy Ryan. It's the third Ryan in our coaching ranks. The other two were pretty good luck. Buddy, we were in Super Bowl III. Rex, we went to 2 AFC championship games. Fell off after that, but still got there, And so now we got Seth. Maybe the Ryan family is a good luck charm, But nonetheless, certainly a young gun that's going to learn under Reich and Musgrove. Musgrove, Mussy. I don't know. We needed a good nickname for him. But, learn. And these guys can all learn from the veterans. We also got Alfredo Roberts, Freddy Bobs, from the Steelers for the tight end coach, or another veteran. And all these young guns can learn from the grizzled vets. And then that way we have a pipeline of coaches. I love it. Fantastic. So I think, considering our situation, this turned out pretty damn good, to be honest with you. How many of us thought we could have smart young guns from Stanford University? And Seth Ryan, how many of us were thinking about Seth Ryan? The other thing is, we now have Seth Ryan and Coach Hayden, Steve Hayden, the O-line coach, two guys under Ben Johnson there with the Lions, and Reich was said to be very fascinated with what Ben Johnson was doing. And so maybe he's combining, his stuff with Ben Johnson's stuff. And we got two of his lieutenants here, Ryan and Hayden, and we were trying to keep Engstrand. That didn't work out. Unfortunately, would have loved to keep him too, but oh well. To kind of merge it into a Ben Johnson type system. That would be fantastic. And if you think about the Ben Johnson situation, he basically had a tale of two quarterbacks. One, he had a steady Eddie with a Jared Goff, so that's probably what we're looking for. And then he went over to the Bears, and while Kelly Williams is definitely not a for sure hit yet, he at least got him to be functional and get into the playoffs and win some games, and he was the Iceman and all this. Now he has to become a lot more consistent before you can think he's an actually good quarterback, but he at least has him on the trajectory to do so, which early on didn't maybe seem like that was even going to happen. So you would think that we're probably, though, going to go with the give me a Jared Goff type, a steady Eddie, not going to be elite, but a guy who can run the damn thing, and if you put great talent around him, can make you a winner. And that would probably be what we're trying to do here with these hires. And I think it makes perfect sense. So I'm pretty excited about this. I think it's terrific. The combination of extreme experience and then some of these up-and-comers, I just like the combo. I just really do. And so, it's all going to come down to who we get to be a quarterback. I'm making the case here for Derek Carr, but who really knows? We have one media report about it so far, and that's it. So who knows what Carr is thinking or not thinking? I mean, maybe he loves Arizona. I don't know. Who knows? But you would think, and plus Derek Carr already flirted with us once a couple of years ago, and I believe the coaching staff really wanted him over Rodgers, but then the marketing people came in and said, no, Rodgers is still a good quarterback, right? And then they said, yeah, he's still, And then they said, and plus he gives us a marketing boom, right? And Derek Carr's not going to do that. And they were like, yeah. So, but he's already felt the love from us. He already remembered that dinner, and one of the fans got the picture of him sitting at dinner with our coaches and all. So he's already kind of felt the love there and already been considering us. And he ultimately went to New Orleans there in that one. But, New Orleans, there's not really that many teams where he could land. I think we got to be rooting for Rodgers to come back to take that seat with the Steelers. And then he's going to have very few choices. And so if he looks around, I think we're the best choice because a lot of these quarterbacks, and I see a lot of this uh, commentary at a lot of this commentary about these quarterbacks. They're like, well, we could get Cousins to be the backup or to challenge this guy, challenge J.J. McCarthy, and challenge. I don't think that either Cousins or Carr is coming to any team where they have to challenge anybody. I think they're at this point in their career, what they want is a runway to start where the runway is clear. Now, if they fall off, it's different. But I don't think they want to come and be a potential backup. That was the problem with Cousins in Atlanta. He didn't want to be Penix's backup. He met with Arthur Blank for 5 hours to try to explain it all to him. And Blank said, yeah, I took notes during this meeting, and I handed all the notes to the football people. And the football people said, we're not trading you. You're staying right here, dum-dum. And Cousins was like, oh, fuck. So I don't think Cousins is going to do that again with anybody, whether it be the Falcons, going back to them, or to going to the Browns, or going to some team where he has to compete for it. We're the only team that can give you free access. Look, we got nothing. This whoever we settle on, or whoever we're pitching this to, one of the parts of the pitch is like if it's Carr, we could say we'll give you a 4-year deal, and if you keep performing, you got 4 years to make your Hall of Fame stats, bulge, and hopefully win. And if you go to the playoffs, or God forbid the fucking Super Bowl, we will build you 17 statues around the stadium and around New York City. And same thing with Cousins. You say to Cousins, look, we'll give you a 2-year contract. He's older, obviously. And you got free reign for 2 years, maybe a third. We'll give you a 2-year guarantee contract and tack on a third with no guaranteed money. But if you keep playing well, we'll keep playing you. We got nothing. We got nothing in the cupboard. So, Bailey Zappi not going to cut it. So that's pretty appealing to those two. Those are the top two guys. If he goes to Arizona, he's got to compete with Brissett. He's still there. And Kyler, they haven't decided what to do with him. That's two people he might have to compete with. Both of those guys. Do they really want that? And plus, their team isn't that great. Plus, LaFleur's an unknown quantity, whereas we have, Reich and now Musgrave. Those are known quantities. And Musgrave's already worked with Carr, and LaFleur has not. And so, where are these people going to go? Miami, they want to trade Tua, was the report. Yeah, well, I want to date Sydney Sweeney. You can want whatever you want, but some things aren't happening. Who's going to trade for Tua? I mean, really, they're going to have to release him, I think, if they want to eat that money. But even if they eat all that money on the cap, well, now they don't have a team. They have to release Tyreek Hill to get rid of his contract, and then he's not going to want to come back. He's going to want to go with Justin Herbert and the Chargers and Mike McDaniel. So now he's gone. And so what team did the Dolphins have? They have no money and no team. That's not a good situation for Carr or Cousins or even Malik Willis, really. So I don't understand some of this commentary. Really. People don't want to admit it, but the Jets have the best situation. Fuck everybody. Fuck everybody. Think about this. What about this? What about this analysis from old Frankie? Think about, we just watched a Super Bowl, right? Yes, Frankie, it was of course. And who won? Well, the Seattle Sea Chickens won, and they beat the New England schedules over there. Well, how did the Seattle Seahawks build their teams over the years? John Schneider's getting all this credit, as he should, for how he's built his teams. Well, think about it. The quarterback position for them. They spent no top premier draft capital on the quarterback position. All these years, Russell Wilson was a third-round pick. And they had Matt Flynn. They signed him to a big contract. Russell Wilson outperforms him. And then he takes control over all those years. Then they get tired of his ass. They trade him for a lot of picks and players. Great trade. And then what did they do? They had Geno Smith there as a free agent acquisition sitting behind Geno. Then he comes in for a few games, looks good enough, and then they go, all right, let's go with Geno. And they go with Geno for a few years. And they back him up with Drew Lock and such. And then they get tired of his ass, and they go get Sammy Darnold. And so all those years, they have not had to use any premium draft capital on these quarterbacks. And that screws up because if you do that and then the quarterback isn't any good, you screw up your whole team for years and years because you then don't get the premium talent that you otherwise would. It's opportunity cost. Nobody ever talks about opportunity cost in all this commentary. And so they were able to just stack up all these players, especially on defense. That's why that defense is so amazing. They just kept adding and adding and adding, and they didn't have to worry about quarterback because they went the free agent route or the third round quarterback route. And so why don't we do that? Why don't we go ahead and do that? Now you got to pray that the free agent works out. You know, we did have one use case where that worked for a year anyway, Fitzpatrick in 2015. Almost got to the playoffs, just missed it. But maybe that's a situation here. And it's Carr or Cousins. That's the ones that I would make a play for. And then you don't, now you could take a Drew Aller in the 5th round if you want. Put him on the roster. Maybe he develops and you get lucky, or you sign somebody like a Sam Howell and hope maybe he figures something out and all that kind of thing. But those are not. But in the meantime, you just draft premium talent with your premium picks. Whether it be the wide receiver or the defense, and that's how you build the team up. That's at least one way, especially because we've been trying in this draft for a long time, and every time it's a strikeout. Whether it be Sanchez or Christian Hackenberg or Bryce Petty or Geno Smith or Darnold or Zach Wilson. It's a lot of strikeouts. Now, of course, Sanchez had some success early on, but then he fizzled out pretty quickly. He had team success. He wasn't good, but the team was. So there was that, but still not a franchise quarterback, obviously. And so maybe this is the way. Maybe this is the way. You just make the case to the top free agents. This is the place for you. We got the best combination of money we can give you, opportunity. There's no one going to be nipping at your heels here. The job is yours, and we got a pretty decent roster on the offensive side right now, and we'll obviously add to it in free agency in the draft. And the defense will figure out along the way. We got to just basically add as much talent as possible to that defense. It was talent depleted last year, and so maybe that's the way. Maybe that's the way. All right, now look at this defense staff. We got Brian Duker. He's our DC, right? Well, really, Aaron Glenn is the DC. But we had a defensive pass game coordinator, Ryan Slowick, Bobby Slowick's brother. Then we added a defensive assistant, Ronald Booker. And we added one of the best defensive line coaches in the NFL, in Carl Dunbar. Now, it'll be interesting to see on the defensive side whether we go to a 3-4 or not, or what we do. But no matter what we do, if we solve our quarterback problem in the free agency pool, then you're going to see, other than maybe one wide receiver, depending on if we can get one of those in the free agency pool, it's going to be an all defensive draft because we are desperate for talent there. And so far, I mean, between Dunbar and all we did on offense, I mean, Ronald Booker, who knows, Ryan Slowick, who knows, but Dunbar is a really big signing for us. That is, yeah. So, so far so good, and it's like we're adding AG as a defensive coordinator, essentially. So, Reich and AG. All right, media sizzle. What do we got here? Not too much. Jets final draft. Oh, such a bad podcast. It's amazing. They just went on and on. This is Country Club Connor and Zach Rosenblather. They just go on and on with their personal stories. Oh, I was at this wedding. Oh, and then I went and played golf. And then I was taking care of my daughter. And then I was doing this and doing that. It's so hard to listen to. I don't know why they get any ratings. Now, I have to listen to them because we have to critique the media here, because nobody else will do that except old Frankie. But and Zach Rosenblather had a column this morning about going on and on about the free agents, where he gets the numbers from PFF. I was like, well, I could go to PFF and get the numbers, Zach. What are you adding here? And Dane Brugler put out his new top 50. And if you're a member of this channel, which you can do by clicking the join button down below, you already know what it is. You don't even have to pay for it. You can get the top 50. Now, Dane Brugler is part of The Athletic, which is owned by the New York Times, which is 43% owned by narco-terrorist Carlos Slim. So if you don't want to give your money to narco-terroristas, then you don't want to give your money to The Athletic, then how are you going to read the great Dane Brugler's thoughts and comments on these prospects? Well, you join the Frankie Insider Club, which is known as the Inner Circle, $2 a month, and I give it to you for free. I get it. I give it to you. See? It pays for itself. So consider joining $2 a month. And you not only get that, you get lots and lots of other stuff. And he's got Arvel Reese's number 1. Fernando Mendoza number 2. All right. So we got, Arvel Reese as the top prospect, and that's who we could get in this draft as long as we take care of the QB position. We could get the number 1 player in the whole draft. Sounds pretty good because he plays defense, and our defense sucks. So a lot of people talking about David Bailey. I would just say I like David Bailey as a prospect, but we already have David Bailey. What do you mean, Frankie? How can we already have him? He's going to get drafted. Well, we already have another version of David Bailey. It's called Will McDonald. Will McDonald's the same player as David Bailey. So what do we need another Will McDonald for? We already have one. Might as well take people who can do other things. So to me, for that reason, not that Bailey's bad. I like Bailey. He's going to get a lot of sacks in the league for sure. But we need somebody like a Reese or a Bain, and so that's who I would prefer. We still have some coaching positions open, like linebacker coach and other minor positions, it seems, as far as we know. But those should be filled shortly. All right, what's the third thing, Frankie? Oh, yeah, late breaking news. Adam Gase to the Chargers. Yeah, Adam Gase is back in the league. He's becoming the passing game coordinator, quarterback coach for the Chargers. Good for Adam Gase, but Adam Gase, the problem with Adam Gase is he's just not a head coach. He's probably a good quarterback coach. So it's going to be funny, though, because Mekhi Becton, Sam Darnold, and Adam Gase are all going to be getting to the Super Bowl before we do, because I think the Chargers are going to the Super Bowl this year. Mekhi Becton made it with the Eagles, and then obviously Darnold with the Seahawks. So congratulations to Adam Gase getting back in the league. Will Campbell, the left tackle for the Patriots, was getting dunked on a lot for his Super Bowl performance or lack thereof. But as I discussed with the Jets Chaos, Jeremy, he was playing injured. So he had a serious knee injury. It was revealed after the game. He said, I was playing through an injury. I got a tear. Which I suspected. He had a giant brace on his knee. Nobody talked about that during the game. They just kept saying he stinks. I was like, well, he's injured. Now, he may not be fit to stay at left tackle, but I think he will, because I think with the knee injury, that took away his anchor. Once you take away your anchor, that makes you change your punch and try to compensate with your hands, which is hard to do. People were saying, well, he's got these short arms. I don't think that was the problem. I think the problem was the knee injury took away his anchor, and then he was trying to overcompensate, and then he was getting beaten. They probably shouldn't have put him out there. He probably shouldn't have been out there for the whole playoffs. But they wanted him to tough it out. So hopefully this doesn't ruin his career. But, Mike Vrabel makes his guys tough it out, I guess. But they lost, so I hope it was worth it. Now, let's check for any late breaking news on the wires, known as X Feed here. Indiana's Pro Day. So it's just announced here, University of Indiana's Pro Day scheduled for April 1st, April Fool's Day. So that's noteworthy only because Fernando Mendoza is planning to throw at the Pro Day, but he will not be throwing at the Combine. So it says a big NFL contingent will be expected in Bloomington. Yeah, not only for Mendoza. They got a lot of prospects, whether it be the two receivers, the tight end even, and then a lot of defensive players as well. So that's interesting. April 1st for Mendoza's Pro Day. Tress Way got a contract extension, so if you were thinking of signing a punter named Tress Way, you cannot anymore. And I think that's about it. Clint Kubiak obviously signed in for for his new job with the Raiders. Rob Havenstein, retirement. He said, "Thank you to everybody, but I'm getting out of here now." He announced his retirement on Instagram. Offensive tackle Rob Havenstein of the Rams. So now they need to replace him. Let's see. Anything else? Anything else? Doesn't seem so. But of course, as soon as I stop this video, the Jets will announce some major news somehow. No, doesn't seem like there's anything else. All right, I guess that's the late breaking news. Late breaking news. So if you have any questions, comments, don't put them down below because the comment section not going to be open. So you can't even do it, even if you wanted to. What you do is you write them down, put it in a notepad, right? You just type it in like that. And then you save it for Coffee with Frankie. What's Coffee with Frankie? Well, it's a show we do at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. If it's Sunday, it's Coffee with Frankie, 10 a.m. Save your questions and comments for at that time, because then we can have a full discussion. Nobody looks down at the comments and, how much am I going to write in response to it? I don't have time to write out response. But Coffee with Frankie, we could chat about it. That's what the whole point of Coffee with Frankie is. It's the chatting time. So save it for Sunday. Think about joining the Inner Circle. Those people get to comment. And they get everything else. They get all the advanced extra stuff. And if you're not into that, then just subscribe to the channel. That's free. Hit the little subscribe button down below. Hit it now. Hit it now. Hit it now.